Residential Site Valuation and Cost Approach, page 35, Chapter 3, Site Valuation. Chapter Overview. Once the appraiser gathers the appropriate data, the appraiser is ready to develop an opinion of value for the site. Several different methods are available, depending on the data available, the type of appraised property, and the scope of work in the assignment. First, this chapter will discuss the sales comparison method, which explains how to make adjustments to comparable sales to arrive at a value. Next, this chapter will review the allocation method, which details how to figure the ratios used and when to reassess them. Finally, there will be a discussion about other ways to derive site value using extraction, land residual, ground rent capitalization, and subdivision analysis methods. Extra notes. CoreLogic now uses ALA mode as of today. VA, no land values. Regression analysis is a great tool. Support every tool used. Might as well. Appraisal Institute. Vacant land. Something, I don't know what it says. Commercial type of thing. Allocation method. A site valuation method that separates the value of the land from the structures that sit on it by taking a ratio of the land or site value to the total property value based on a typical property in the area. Comparables. Other similar properties that have sold recently in a certain area, also called comps. Extraction method. A site valuation method that takes an estimated value of improvements and subtracts it from the total sales price to derive a figure for the land value. Ground rent capitalization method. A method of valuing land based on the rent it generates in a given year divided by an appropriate capitalization rate. Cap rate scary. Land residual method. An income method of site valuation that attributes a certain part of the income produced by a property to the building or other improvements and then attributes the remaining income to the land. Matched pair analysis. Process of determining the value of a specific property characteristics or features by comparing pairs of similar properties, also called paired data analysis. The arrow was pointing to that, and that's where the no regression goes towards. Sales comparison approach. An appraisal method that indicates the value of real property by comparing the property being appraised with other comparable properties. Data is collected and adjustments are made for differences, also called market approach or sales comparison method. The note was Appraisal Institute, vacant land sale, or something like that. That went to that. Subdivision analysis method. A method of valuing land that could be developed by taking the total projected market value of the finished project and subtracting all costs of development and entrepreneurial profit and incentive. Commercial type of thing. That's a commercial type of thing. That was the extra note. Page 36. Using the site data. Determining site valuation is important for several reasons, except in the case of raw land. The separate site valuation is rarely the end of the appraisal process. The site valuation figures derived from these calculations may be used for deciding highest and best use of the property. For adding a site value to the cost of building a structure or for isolating the site value to determine the insurance value of a building. But as with all steps in the appraisal process, the resulting opinion of value is only as accurate as the data collected. Attention to detail begins at data collection and continues through to the end of the appraisal. Valuing the site. Once all of the site data has been gathered, verified, and analyzed, the appraiser must choose a method of site valuation that will yield the most accurate results. After a method is chosen, the appraiser may need to gather additional data to implement the chosen valuation method. Different data is used depending on the method chosen. This additional data often include recent comparable sales information for similar properties in the area, as well as economic data for similar types of property. There are several basic methods that the appraiser can use to perform a site valuation. Sales comparison method, allocation method, extraction method, land residual method, ground rent capitalization method. The first three methods use an analysis of comparable sales and can be used for almost any type of property or site. The extraction method additionally employs costing methods. The last two methods use various income analysis methods to arrive at a value and can only be used for commercial or income properties. A sixth method, the subdivision analysis method, can also be used for some types of site valuations. The subdivision analysis method is typically used for large tracts of land that will be made into residential lots, although the method could be adapted for use when subdividing land into an office or industrial park. The following looks at each of these site valuation methods. Sales comparison method. The sales comparison method is a site valuation method that compares the subject land or site to other similar sites that have recently sold. Adjustments are made to the sales for differences between those properties and the subject property, and the site value estimate is then based on this comparison to other sales. This is very similar to the sales comparison approach to appraising real estate, which is detailed in other appraisal courses and textbooks. The first step for a sales comparison is to obtain data on other similar properties that sold recently in the same market area. These similar properties are referred to as comparables or comps. The comps should be as similar to the subject property as possible and preferably reflect the most current market conditions. Page 37. Next, market evidence is used to make adjustments to the price of the comps to account for differences between them and the subject. Finally, the resulting data is analyzed to arrive at an opinion of value for the subject property. Comparables. Typically, several comparable sales or comps are used to arrive at a value figure. The comps should preferably be fairly recent sales, reasonably similar to the subject property, and part of an arm's length transaction. Comps where parties were related, sold as part of a liquidation sale, for instance, foreclosure, or had other unusual terms or concessions are typically eliminated. When an appraiser cannot verify or confirm the date of comps, then the comps are unreliable and are often disqualified. If there are not enough properties that have been sold recently in a given area, the appraiser may look in another similar area or use comps with older sales dates, making price adjustments up or down depending on market conditions at the time of the sale. Any deviations that were used must be adequately explained in the appraisal report. The appraiser might also choose to use a different method of site valuation instead. Adjustments. Adjusting properties is the process of making the chosen comps come as close as possible in features to the subject, so that meaningful price comparisons can be made. By this process, the sales comparison approach is able to approximate the value of the subject property based on objective data readily available in the marketplace. The rule for adjusting properties is simple. The subject property is your base. Each comp is compared to the base. The subject never changes. So if a comp is missing something the subject has, then you need to add something to make a positive adjustment to the comp to make them equal. If the comp has something extra the subject does not have, then you need to take away from the comp to make a negative adjustment to it to make them equal. Here's a simple example. In a new home subdivision, 35 vacant lots have been sold and there are 5 left. Chris wants to buy a lot and is having it appraised. All the lots sold in the past 6 months are the same size and shape. The only differences are the location of the lots, and some of the lots are wooded. For this example, assume corner lots are superior to inside lots, also called in-lots, and wooded lots are superior to non-wooded lots. From comparing recent sales and using market evidence to arrive at adjustment figures, an appraiser can conclude the following. Here's your price section. Subject, we're trying to figure that out. Sale number 1 was $14,000. Sale number 2, $13,500. Sale number 3, $14,250. The wooded row. Subject is wooded. Sale number 1 was not wooded, so you have to add $500. Sale number 2 is not wooded, so you have to add $500. Sale number 3 is wooded, so it stays the same. Location. The subject is an in-lot. Sale number 1 is a corner lot, so you have to minus $250. Sale number 2 is an in-lot, so it stays the same. Sale number 3 is a corner lot, so you minus $250. Final section. We're trying to figure out the subject. Sale number 1, $14,250. Sale number 2 with adjustments comes to $14,000. And sale number 3 with adjustments comes to $14,000.